Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the eSports Report presented by the Xbox One, the official console of Major League Gaming. Benson joined by the wonderful Mr. X for today's pre-game show. Got a lot to run through, of course, today. Some big games, and of course Gfinity as well, finally announcing their pools.
Everybody's waiting on that.
Talk to. What do you think about those pools, really, really briefly?
You know, there's, I believe it's Group C. I think that's one that's kind of clear-cut who's going to win. Group B, I think really the toughest one is probably Group D. We'll get into that, though. Group D.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, starting with the 100K announcement, we'll take a look at Group A. And you can see Optic Gaming, they're going to be in there, as our Team Envious, Happy Games, and VWS Gaming. Matt, I kind of look at that pool, and I think that's an extremely easy pool.
You expect Optic and Envy to be top 2 in the pool. You fully expect Optic to probably win that group. I think, maybe like Hyper Games could give Envy a game, but I really don't see that happening. I mean, that's kind of like a long shot. No, I think like the other one team that could probably make some noise out of the, them and VWS. I think Optic and Envy, clear-cut 2 best teams in this group. Fully expect Optic to take the #1 in this one. Looking over at Group B then, that's where FaZe Clan are going to be lying. Team Infused, TK, and Liquid Gaming. Again, you look at that and you think FaZe and TK should have an easy run. Infused, I think, can give TK a game. I think Infused can give TK a game. So obviously pretty tough for North American teams to go to Europe, play, time difference, get your body on that clock right away. That jet lag. TK, I'm trying to think. They haven't really, Nameless has had a good event overseas at G3. Have any of the TK guys really had a great event overseas? Oh, really? I remember when TK went without Gunjar. Gunjar was their coach. And they had Stainville playing. They made it out of groups. They beat Optic in groups. They made it out of groups. I don't know where they finished in bracket play. It wasn't high. But I think Infuse can definitely give TK a game. I think that one's close. But do you think they can win the game? Like, do you think they can come out second? Realistically? I mean, I think it's... If that goes like a 5th game, that series, I think Infuse can definitely take it. Okay. I think, putting the pressure on, I mean, kind of playing at home, so to speak. That's true. That's true. Yeah, you have home field advantage, or you are at home. I think they can definitely give them a game. I think FaZe, though, without a doubt, wins this group. They are so strong right now in Hardpoint, Search, and Destroy. Uplink, not as much, but, in the first 2 games, it's so dominant. I'm excited to see how FaZe perform overseas. Moving over to Group C, though, take a look. That's where Elevate, Epsilon EU, Rise Nation, and also IGI eSports lie. Note, that isn't Epsilon NA. No, it's not going to be Swanee and the boys. It's the European Epsilon squad. So who is on this team? Mad Cat's on that squad. They drop Marky B. They pick up Mad Cat. Not exactly sure what the rest of the lineup is. No, neither. But you figure if Mad Cat can kind of, I'm sure Mad Cat's probably playing with pretty good players. You figure they can give Rise a run. I mean, Elevate's playing with Slasher and Replays. That's true. Actually, that's a really good point. So yeah, maybe this is the group where you could potentially see a little bit of an upset come out, if you would class it as an upset. I think that Elevate spot will be pretty good. That Rise Epsilon game, I think, is going to be huge. Yeah. I think that's really going to... I think Elevate will be still good, though. I mean, Slasher, I think I saw something on Reddit today. You look at, like, some kind of advanced stats, on a per-game basis, and he's, like, in the top 5 or 6 in the league right now. And he's kind of, like, really underrated. Yeah, he's putting up some nice numbers. So I think, especially with Elevate, their current roster, we'll get into that a little bit later, but they're playing very good in the Pro League. You expect, Slacked and Classic to gel with Replays pretty easy. They played with him at UMG Cali. And then, Slasher can just come in and just slay with the AR. I fully expect Elevate to play pretty well. Yep. I'm looking, as I said, that Epsilon versus Rise game for me for Group C is going to be the big one. I think that's going to decide who comes out in 2nd place of the group. Moving over to the final group at Gfinity 100K, group number D, or group letter D rather. Number D, Nation. Ben. Hey, it could be a number if I want it to. Vitality Storm, they're going to be in there as well. TCM Gaming, and of course Spirit Gaming. Who wins this group, in your opinion? ON, Vitality, and TCM, to be honest, I feel like are all on the same playing field for me. Oh, really? Vitality Storm on the same playing field as TCM and ON? I don't think so. You think Storm... I don't think that's as good as ON or TCM. No? No. Do you think they can beat them? Yes. Which is the scary thing. It's like, no, they're not as good, but yes, they can probably beat them. I think, for me, TCM when they were online at UMG placed 5th. Yeah. It's a good team. It really is. It's a good team when they're playing next to each other. Whether it's just online issues has been the issue with them, we'll have to wait and see. And of course, those players used to playing in England. You got
50% of them are English themselves, or from the UK rather, so they should have no problem really adjusting to that. And Aix and TP, I mean, they've been overseas several times.
I think this group is the one with the highest chance of, I guess, an upset, so to speak.
Really?
I think you put Vitality.
You rate Vitality that high?
Yeah, I mean, well, you look at it compared to the other groups. I mean, can you really see much of anything happening in the other groups?
If you're right about that team of Epsilon.eu with MadCat,
yeah.
I think, like you said, whatever team MadCat's on, you know it's going to be...
I mean, I guess the 3 EU teams you'd look out for here would probably be Epsilon, Infused, and Vitality Storm.
Fact. Yep, 100%.
I think out of those, I mean, who has the easiest matches?
Honestly, I think it's a toss-up between Group C and Group D. I think...
Those will be both pretty close groups, I imagine.
Yeah, I think Vitality could definitely take Game 5 if it goes all the way against like an Optic Nation or even TCM. We'll have to wait and see, though. Excited for all of the Gfinity action to kick off.
It's going to be fun.
You fly out tomorrow, right?
Yes, me and Christopher Puckett leave tomorrow night, 10:30. Get there on Thursday.
Are you going to fall asleep this time? Last time you went over, I was like, Matt, when you go across,
I watched 3 movies last time.
You watched 3 movies, you landed, and you went straight to the event.
Yep, that's what I do.
Hopefully this time you actually sleep.
You don't need sleep. It's overrated. Let's talk about the Pro League matches from last night.
Whatever he says. Yeah.
Start off with Rise versus TCM.
Yes, we were just talking about TCM. They were in action last night with Rise.
This one goes all the way to a Game 5, round 11, and Rise ends up winning it. I believe Chino gets an ace in round 11.
Go on, Chino!
To win it.
Chino's had his fair share of mishaps this year, but nice to see him clutching up when his team needs him.
But I mean, he played great in that series last night. I mean, you see the overall KD at a 1.17, the hardpoint KD at 1.15, S&T coming up big, that's like I just said, in that Game 5. You know, even in the Game 2, they lose it, but his S&D numbers were good overall. I think this is a big win for Rise, but it speaks more to TCM. Like, you see them play really well at a LAN, like, get fit.
Right.
And then you see them go online, and they keep going to these Game 5s, and they... Nope. That night they took a map off of Optic Gaming. They took that first hardpoint. They looked really good. And then they throw out a match like this.
And lose.
And it's like, where is the consistency with this team?
Right. I mean, a lot of people always talk about TP connection and whatnot. You coached the guy. You know him extremely well. How big of a factor was that when you guys were in the Pro League? Was it as kind of much of an issue as people make out, or not so much?
It was, but... I think the team composition was like really good. So you had 2 West Coast people and 2 East Coast people.
So you could kind of...
So even if they vetoed like 1, you were always going to get 2 people who had a pretty good connection.
That makes sense.
I think you look at this TCM team, it's like 2 people in the New York, New Jersey area, 1 person in North Carolina, and then him on the West Coast. Like, he will never get host. He'll never play on a good host. So he's kind of at a disadvantage the entire time.
Pretty screwed, to be honest. But yeah, TCM... We dubbed it as the must-win matchup. Rise came out and took that one. But moving on, FaZe continue their momentum. They roll over their opposition. A fantastic series from them last night. Enable coming out looking just so good. Recently, I said this to, I think it was Max the other day, and you can agree or disagree. I'm curious to know your opinion. Since he beat Optic Gaming, I feel like we have seen a different Enable. I feel like he feels more confident. Like, he no longer has to say, oh, I won championships with OG. It's now... oh, I've beaten Optic Gaming myself.
I think he just needed a really good finals performance, right? I mean, you know, X Games, he didn't play his best in the finals.
Played pretty bad,
I think even Enable will tell you that. He did not play very well in the finals at X Games. I think he just really needed a strong finals performance against the top team. And then all that kind of, you know, nerves and frustration, like I make it all the way there and then I kind of falter. I think all that's gone. And he's been playing some insane Call of Duty. I mean, he goes 33 and 18 last night. I know everybody on FaZe really just doing a great job in the hardpoint. We actually have the stats from that. Enable with a 1.11, 33 Slayer rating in hardpoint. These are all hardpoint stats throughout Season 3 thus far. So you see everybody above a 1 KD. You know, Clayster leading the team with a 1.20. Everybody over 30 kills. Everybody almost near the 34, 35 kill range. I mean, Zuma
pushing 40s every game.
If I had to vote for MVP right now for Season 3, it's Zuma.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And what was scary was last night, they outplayed ON by 44 kills. That's like a player.
So right now, in Season 3, they're 12-2 in hardpoint, 10-1 since UMG Dallas.
Wow.
An overall team KD of a 1.13. They outslay the other team on an average of 20 kills a match.
I mean, they're the best hardpoint team in AW right now.
Oh, I think without question, they're the best hardpoint team in AW.
It's insane.
And it's because they force their playstyle on other teams. Like, you never see them try and play another person's games. Like, even if they start out slow, you still see Zuma and Attach just smashing their faces at the hill, just keep going towards the hill, playing aggressive. They never kind of let the other team dictate the pace of the game. They're always the one that forced their play style, and you see it. Because, they keep the game close, and they're down 15, 20 seconds, right? And then all of a sudden, you see the kills on the side of your screen. They're all in their favor. And you start to see, Enable's on a 3 streak, Zuma's on a 4 streak, Clay's on a 4 streak, Tatch is on a 5 streak. And those kills just start to mount up, and the score, it just becomes difficult for the other team to even make a comeback.
I mean, you talked about how Clay and Enable in game number 1 drop a 1.83 KD. They both go 33 and 18. But the score was 250 to 93.
Oh, it's
so if that game continues going an extra couple of minutes, you see some extremely high scores from those guys. But then going over to a game 2, Recovery, Search, and Destroy, you think, all right, maybe this is where Optic Nation can try and steal one. Mochilla this season has been out of his mind, always dropping double digits. But unfortunately, it just wasn't to be. FaZe came out and crushed on Recovery.
Zuma starts out 8-1 on a 7 streak. Finishes 10-6 overall. I mean, this is really the 2 game modes that FaZe has kind of banked on so far in Season 3 and at UMG Dallas, right? I mean, they were just a dominant team in Search and Destroy and Hardpoint. And if they win they're going to win these first 2 games, against most teams, 80, 90% of the time, right? I mean, all they have to do is really kind of perfect their uplink play, and this team is almost unbeatable.
Do they? Like, if you're FaZe right now...
You obviously want to be good at it.
Right. But I mean, they're obviously they're good at it.
It puts a ton of pressure if you're not the best at it, because, you kind of falter in a game 1, or you lose a game 2.
Right.
Which, I mean, Zuma doesn't flank, doesn't get picks. Maybe they lose a Search and Destroy. I mean, it's possible.
Just quickly, speaking on the uplink, I know we're watching the S&D, but it was a
uplink. Oh, yeah.
FaZe won 17-7. So... that doesn't really tell the story we're trying to tell, which is definitely true. We looked at teams in the league when we were doing Beyond the Scoreboard yesterday, and FaZe weren't in the top 5 teams for uplink.
No.
They were actually quite far down. I think it was like 8th place they actually landed. But what is it they're not doing right in uplink?
I mean, they're just outslaying teams. They're not just playing around the drone, really. I mean, you watch them, and they're just out-killing everybody. Like, nobody is going to outslay them, outside of, like, an Optic Gaming or, like, a Denial on a day. But they just aren't doing a good job playing for the drone and keeping that drone control. Once they figure that out, like, a lot of times they go, like, send one guy on the overextension, whether it's Zuma or Attach, and ends up kind of hurting them. Once they figure out how to play uplink, and it's not that they don't know how to play. Once they figure out a play style that works for them in uplink, and they work on it as a team, and they get dominant like they were against ON last night, and this is going to be an almost impossible team to beat. I mean, they are just 4 strong overall players on every game mode.
Yep. They're on a roll, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And they're going to stay on that roll for a while. Up next, though, Elevate. They went up against ISO. Game 1, Detroit, Hardpoint, Elevate come out. They clutched that one up, 219 to 199. We have a highlight video for you there. The turning point in the game, Elevate outscores ISO 42 to 2 on the second rotation Atlas Hardpoint. I mean, this hill's tough. Very, very tough to lock down for a good chunk of time. But I feel like 42 to 2, you should not be getting outscored by that.
We see teams take a lot of time on this on the second rotation.
It's weird.
Off the start of the game, you really don't see teams get a lot of time. But I feel like whenever we talk about a team making a comeback on Detroit Hardpoint in the second half, it always starts at this hill. Like, you never see somebody like keep it close all the way through green and garage. Like,
you can wallbang it. You can. There's so many different ways you can get players out. It's just, I feel like
it's
going
such
into
an
that
odd
second hill, people play so scrappy.
It's such an odd hill though, because you can come from any direction, right? Like, players can come from hospital here, they can come from garage, they can come from school over the top, they can come from both sides. That a team attacking it, like, you can't really make like a solid plan to attack it as a team. You just kind of have to win those gunfights. And if you're not winning the gunfights, the opposing team's going to hold it the entire time. So Elevate wins that one. An interesting stat. Well, Saints goes for 42 kills, the first one, but Elevate wins all of their matches when they win the first hardpoint.
Every single one of them.
Undefeated when winning the first hardpoint.
It's a pretty good stat to have.
Spoiler alert.
Game 2, Search and Destroy. It was a riot. This one goes all the way to a round 11. And Elevate actually lose first blood. They're in a 3 versus 4, but quickly able to trade up a kill. Silly goes down for ISO. And that's going to give you a 3 versus 3 Elevate on the attacking side. And from here, it was just pretty nice plays from the boys at Elevate.
ISO gets a 2v1 advantage against Slacked. And he's going to be able to clutch this, winning the map for Elevate. But since they've got TJ Haley back, they're 6-1 in S&D. Would you say they're one of the best S&D teams in the game? I don't know if I would go that far.
I wouldn't go that far. They're a good search team.
This is kind of what you got more of when you made the TJ for Apathy move, right? Like, they're both really strong respawn players. Like,
right.
TJ more starting season 3, you know, really kind of coming into his own in respawn, whether that's, you know, because they eliminated CTF, that was like his worst game mode.
Right. Massively his worst game.
Massively his worst game mode. So his stats are obviously going to be better. But I think in S&D, that's really where he kind of gives you that little bump over.
I would say right now they're probably the most underrated team in the league. I feel like teams don't look at them as if, oh yeah, this is a genuine threat, whereas in actual fact, I think they really could be. Going over to game number 3, though, it was a Biolab uplink, and Elevate just kind of put on cruise control for the majority of this and just had some nice plays here and there, but relatively it was just business as usual for this Elevate squad.
Yeah, Classic goes big in this one, 25 and 24, 5 uplinks. And then, you know,
look at that nice play.
We talk about with the addition of TJ, they're 4-1 in uplink with TJ back on the roster. Before that, 1-3. I think that kind of speaks to the teamwork that TJ, Classic, and Slacked had previously. And then, you know, TJ, one of the better uplink players in the game. You know, we see him so many times getting interceptions, just causing problems around the drone, making big plays. I think really, you know, those 2 game modes, that's really why you go out and make that move. You know, the Apathy for TJ switch.
I mean, speaking of that, we can actually take a look at a graphic, which is actually going to show us, since bringing back TJ, how strong has Elevate actually been. You can see 5-0 record, 15-4 map count. They 3-0 win, 3-0 Orbit, 3-2 versus OG, which is a huge win, 3-2 versus Rise, and a 3-0 versus ISO. Best game mode S&D 6-1.
Their only loss in S&D was to OG. So
is TJ the factor?
Oh, in S&D, I think he is.
Is he just a factor?
Oh, he's just a factor overall. Yeah, I mean, look at it. I mean, that's just an insane kind of run they're on right now. You look at it, you haven't been talking about them that much.
Would you really validate that 5-0 run there? I mean, the win against OG is huge, but there's no denial, there's no envy, there's no FaZe.
Fair enough.
It's you know, like going game 5 against Rise.
It's still, we see teams drop to teams that they should beat all the time.
That is true. So it's consistency here, which is
just consistent play. You're seeing good S&D play. You're seeing them win hard points consistently. And then uplink, you know, they're a top echelon team in uplink. I don't think there would be anyone who can kind of argue that. I think they're a very talented uplink team.
I mean, they're looking very good right now. Hopefully Elevate can continue on the rampage. The final game of yesterday was one which was extremely hyped up. It was the battle for first place, Denal versus Optic Gaming, and it's been rescheduled.
Yep, you'll see that.
So we'll know who is going to hold first place later on.
Somebody will hold first place.
Someone will. For now, it's still Denal.
Right.
Is it? Yes.
I
Why
believe
not?
so.
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, Ben just making stuff up.
Yeah, why not? But yeah, that game is going to be rescheduled. Kind of sad. Everyone really wanted to see that one happen, but it will go on at a later date. Just quick, brief thoughts on that matchup when it finally does happen. I feel like it's weird, but this is like the second and third best team in the game right now.
I think OG wins that one.
You really?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I feel like people, because it's Optic, it's like everyone's freaking out. Like, what's wrong with Optic Gaming? It's like there's nothing really wrong with them.
They just lost a couple games.
They just lost. They lost a series to FaZe.
They just prove they're human.
I mean, it just happens.
It does.
When you have 2 really strong teams like that, and, you know, one like FaZe, they were hot the entire weekend. You know, Optic going through a loser bracket run, they're kind of drained. They're not playing at 100%. I mean, I even think they would say they're not playing at 100%. Sometimes you get run over a little bit.
It happens.
It happens.
It does. Anyway, for now, quick commercial break. When we return, though, we're going to be taking a look at the leaderboards and, of course, tonight's games. Be right back.